Ridge Forrester's emergency return to Los Angeles had been about confirmation, Taylor's pregnancy, the chaos unfolding in Italy, the haunting images of a capsized yacht. But once the dust settled, once the sea had stopped churning and the news broke that Brooke Logan and Nick Marone had survived the accident, everything crystallized for Ridge. All the guilt, all the confusion, all the unresolved feelings reached one brutal conclusion. His heart had never left Brooke. He didn't delay. He didn't apologize. The moment he saw Brooke alive, standing on the tarmac, shaken but breathing, wrapped in a wool coat and blinking into the California sun, Ridge rushed toward her. No hesitation. No Taylor. No middle ground. He pulled her into his arms in front of everyone, paparazzi, family, strangers, and whispered, "You're alive. I thought I lost you. I can't lose you again." The kiss followed. It was long, public, a seal of fate. And though Brooke resisted at first, confused, raw, still trembling from the trauma, her body melted into his. Because she knew. She always knew. Despite the pain. Despite Italy. Despite the pregnancy. Despite Taylor. Ridge made his choice. And it wasn't Taylor. He didn't give Taylor the chance to respond. He didn't deliver the news gently. He didn't sit her down. He simply told her, "I'm going to marry Brooke. My future is with her." "I'm sorry." Taylor froze. Her face shattered in silence. All the strength she had summoned to carry this child, to open her heart again, to believe that Ridge had returned because of her, it vanished in one breath. She stared at him, her lips parted in disbelief, her hand still resting on her belly. But Ridge didn't waver. He spoke with conviction. Cold. Final. "I owe you my respect, my gratitude, but not my life. My life has always been Brooke." And with that, he turned his back. Taylor collapsed into her chair, silent tears falling. Not because she was weak, but because she had seen this before. She had lived this ending before. And yet she had believed, for one foolish moment, that this time it would be different. But Ridge Forrester always returned to Brooke. Always. The news spread fast. Within 24 hours, the wedding was announced. Not months away. Not weeks. Days. Ridge wanted to make it official, fast, public, undeniable. A celebration of life, a triumph over death, a symbol that love always rises. He called it their rebirth. After the storm, after the wreckage, after the near loss, he wanted the world to see what was left standing, Ridge and Brooke forever. The wedding would be at the Forrester Mansion, on the very grounds where so many love stories had died. This one, he swore, would not. Eric hesitated, but ultimately supported it. Steffi and Thomas refused to attend. Hope was cautiously supportive, seeing her mother finally at peace again. But the most explosive reaction came from Nick. Nick Marone, who had nearly drowned saving Brooke during the yacht accident, who had held her unconscious in his arms while treading water in open sea, who had fought off hypothermia and stayed awake through the searchlight hours praying she would live. Nick, the man who thought he might finally get Brooke back, was now being publicly erased. Again. He was there when the announcement aired on national television. Ridge, standing next to Brooke, their hands intertwined, his voice sure, "She is the woman I've nearly lost too many times. No more. This wedding isn't just a ceremony. It's a vow to never walk away again." Nick's drink shattered against the floor. He didn't go to the wedding out of politeness or closure. He went to watch it burn. The day arrived like a fever dream. Cameras, floral arches, guests in black tie. Brooke in white. Ridge in gray. Donna, emotional. Eric proud. Hope holding her mother's hand before the walk. It was all perfection on the surface. But underneath, tension ran deep. Taylor watched from a distance. She hadn't been invited. But she came anyway. Alone. In shadow. She stood behind the hedges on the south lawn, hand on her stomach, eyes fixed on Ridge. Her Ridge. the father of her unborn child. A man who was about to marry someone else while she carried his future in her womb. Nick stood near the edge of the fountain, away from the crowd, drink in hand, jaw tight. When the vows began, he didn't move. When Ridge said, "I take you, Brooke, for as long as we both shall live," Nick smirked bitterly. And when the kiss came, long and triumphant, Nick turned to leave but paused. One last look. One last second. One final humiliation. After the ceremony, Ridge addressed the guests, microphone in hand, Brooke by his side. His speech wasn't soft. It wasn't poetic. It was clear and sharp. Some people say destiny is a myth, that we choose our lives and make our own fate. But I don't believe that. Because I've tried to walk away from this woman 1,000 times, and each time, life pulled me back. I nearly lost her again. I won't tempt fate anymore. This is my home, my future, my truth. If that offends anyone, I'm sorry, but this is happening, and it's happening now. Gasps. Applause. A few mutters of disbelief. And then a slow clap. Everyone turned. Nick stood at the edge of the dance floor, his face unreadable, but his voice cut through the crowd like a dagger. Bravo, Ridge. You survived a shipwreck, and now you think you're a hero. A knight. Maybe even a saint. But let me remind you, you abandoned her. I saved her. You left her on that dock. I was the one pulling her from the water. So enjoy your cake, your music, your lies. But know this, you're not the man you think you are. You're just a lucky man who always lets someone else do the hard work. Silence. Then he walked out. No one stopped him. Later that night, Ridge and Brooke danced under golden lights. But Ridge couldn't shake Nick's words. Not completely. And Taylor, still hidden in the garden shadows, whispered to herself, "This child will never know what it means to be chosen first." And with that, the page turned. But the story was far from over. Prison never held Sheila Carter for long. Not truly. For someone like Sheila, a cell is just a pause. A trap for the overconfident. A steel box she studies from the inside, learning angles, rhythms, weaknesses. She waited. She bided her time. And when the guards grew complacent and the spotlight shifted to the glitz of Forrester's highly publicized outdoor fashion show, she struck. With a smirk and blood in her eyes, she slipped free from the chains everyone thought would hold her forever. She didn't do it alone. Sheila never does. She had a partner. One of the guards, young, reckless, greedy, had been whispering with her for months. She fed him promises. Fed him fear. Fed him a cut of something bigger than money, control, freedom, revenge. On the day of the Forrester fashion event, a celebration of family, legacy, and beauty under the open sky, Sheila Carter vanished from her cell. No alarms. No screams. Just empty space. The Forrester show was billed as a spectacle. Models, lights, drone footage, gowns billowing across open-air runways. International guests. Press. Champagne. Romance. An outdoor wedding-inspired collection called Eternally Yours. Every stitch screamed peace. Joy. A bright future. And then hell arrived. Sheila didn't come for attention. She came for one thing, Hayes Finnegan, her grandson. The last living tether she believed could force the world to kneel to her again. She had convinced herself that Steffi stole her family. That the Forresters manipulated Finn into turning against his own mother. And now she had a plan. Take Hayes. Force Steffi to relinquish custody of Finn. Use the child as leverage. Reclaim her rightful place. Sheila's move was precise. Disguised as a stage technician, she slipped into the event grounds the night before. She stashed weapons. Memorized guard rotations. Positioned her exit path. On the day of the show, she was already beneath the runway, waiting. When the crowd arrived and the music swelled, she watched through the slats as Ridge, Brooke, Hope, Steffi, and Finn took their seats. Hayes sat nearby with Amelia, The nanny, in a shaded lounge surrounded by floral arches and champagne towers. Sheila's eyes never left the boy. The first act of the show began. Bridal gowns flowed down the runway. White silk, diamonds, doves released into the sky. Guests applauded. Photographers clicked. The live broadcast reached millions. It was the perfect distraction. At the peak of applause, when Steffi stood to congratulate Hope on a flawless walk, Sheila made her move. Dressed in black, face masked, she leapt from the stage platform and grabbed Hayes in one fluid motion. Screams erupted. Amelia lunged, but Sheila pistol-whipped her without pause. Guests dove for cover. Finn's roar cut through the chaos as he sprinted toward his son. But Sheila fired a warning shot into the air. The gun wasn't loaded to kill. But no one knew that. A moment of frozen fear paralyzed the scene. "Back off," she screamed. "Nobody follows me, nobody calls the cops, or this turns real fast. I want Steffi. Now." Finn stopped dead. Hayes was crying, held too tightly in Sheila's arm. Cameras still rolling. Brooke shouted for someone to shut off the live feed, but it was too late. Millions watched in real time as the Forrester show turned into a hostage crisis. Steffi stepped forward, hands raised. "Let him go, Sheila." "He's just a baby." Sheila's voice was ice. "You took everything from me. My son. My family. You poisoned him against me. So now you're going to fix it. Give me Finn. Give me back my son, or you never see yours again." Finn stood behind Steffi, fists clenched. Ridge ordered security to surround the perimeter, but Sheila held up the gun again. "One wrong move and this boy goes into the water." She motioned toward the koi pond just steps from the runway platform. The threat was enough to freeze everyone in place. And then the second act began unplanned. One of the models, unaware of the emergency, burst onto the runway in full bridal regalia. Sheila spun around, startled. The model tripped, her gown catching on a hidden cord. A pyrotechnic spark flew sideways. Panic exploded. People screamed. Gowns flew. Tables overturned. Guests ran for cover. Drones in the air whirred wildly, capturing the chaos. A tablecloth caught fire. Security stormed in, unsure whether to charge or hold. And in the middle of it all, Sheila moved. She darted toward the rear exit with Hayes still in her arms, but Finn was already moving too. He tackled her from behind, sending them both crashing into the edge of the reflecting pool. Hayes rolled free. Sheila tried to recover, grabbing the gun again. But Ridge arrived, slamming his foot down on her wrist. She screamed, writhing. "You'll never take him," Finn spat. "You'll never take either of us." Steffi ran to Hayes, holding him, crying. The crowd circled in, cautious but enraged. Eric looked on from the elevated tent, pale and stunned. Brooke whispered, "This woman is evil incarnate." Police arrived minutes later. Sheila was dragged out, soaked and snarling. She laughed as they cuffed her. "You'll never be safe. Not as long as he's mine. He came for me. You can't change that." The show was canceled. Headlines exploded. Fashion Runway turns to war zone as notorious fugitive crashes Forrester event. Authorities launched a full investigation. The guard who aided Sheila's escape was arrested, exposing a wider ring of corruption within the prison system. Security at future Forrester events would never be the same. Back at the mansion, the family gathered, shaken. Hayes was safe. Finn remained quiet, shell-shocked. Steffi couldn't stop trembling. Ridge sat in the corner, brooding. She always finds a way back. Always. Eric made a decision. No more mercy. No more legal games. Sheila was to be declared mentally unfit and committed without parole eligibility. Forever. But even in custody, Sheila's words echoed, "You think locking me away again will stop the truth? You can't bury blood. Finn's mine. And I'm not done." The family had won the battle. But they all knew the war wasn't over.